Wonderful.
Hi, BookTube. It's Peg at the History Shelf. If you haven't guessed, I am here to do a tag. Can you guess which tag? You know it. It's the coronavirus book tag. Brought to you by Steve Donahue, the always infectious Steve Donahue, infecting others. There's my little worthless mask because it does nothing to stop the spread. But it's a handy prop when you need one. So, okay, had a little help today with my better half over here, Martine, to help answer a couple of questions that I couldn't really think of anything. You know, I'm not, sometimes I'm not good at these where I just don't have a great recall for 100 million different books or anything like that. I want to, so thank you, Steve, for tagging me. And I'm putting together in my mind, I might be putting up an original tag. I've never done that before. I'm kind of excited, which will hopefully address another side to what's going on in the world, which is pretty darn crazy, that hopefully can bring a sense of peace and calm to everyone, or at least give you a moment of peace and calm in an otherwise very chaotic time. Well, let's just jump right into our questions. I've got my handy dandy list here. Misleading Initial Reporting, a book that turned out to be very different, not necessarily worse than the first you heard of it. So Martine and I were talking about this, and we both agreed that Stephen King's The Shining is very much a book that is confused with the Stanley Kubrick movie. And unless you've read the book and seen the movie and know, there is a very big difference. And a lot of people have seen the movie before they read the book or have never read the book and just assume Stanley Kubrick's movie is The Shining. I highly recommend, if you've never read The Shining, to read The Shining. I think along with Salem's Lot, it is one of Stephen King's best books. And Salem's Lot is a lesser known one, but I think it's brilliant and very creepy and very scary, the way it should be, the way it's supposed to be. But The Shining, so I saw Kubrick's movie first, and then I read the book many years later, and it's very different from what I heard and saw in the Kubrick movie. And the beauty of the novel is that it's really about one man's struggle with alcoholism, and his eventual defeat. You know, he loses that battle, and he's overcome by the blackness within him, the weakness, because there are spirits, there is an evil malevolent force at the Overlook Hotel that seizes upon that weakness that Jack Torrance has, and it uses it to slowly make him lose his mind, and he is drawn into it. But what the movie misses is it shows in little, pieces of dialogue here and there. Oh, my husband doesn't drink anymore, or there was an accident with Danny's arm and Jack accidentally hurt him and he had been drinking. So there's these little asides, and then of course you have the final scene towards the end where he's confronted with a drink in front of him with Lloyd, the bartender. But Kubrick didn't really explore what Stephen King had written, which to me was a very personal novel because, as we know, Stephen King was an alcoholic. He'd also used drugs, and so he had been an addict, and he knew about what it was like to be one and to be in recovery. So in the book, you actually see how hard Jack Torrance works to stay sober, and he's got his big book, the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's trying to attend meetings via the CB radio, so that he's got that support. But that isolation, and then just the history of that hotel and the evil there, it brought him down, and it took him over. So again, The Shining, that is a book that turned out to be very different than what I had thought it to be. And it's brilliant. I thought it was great. Question 2, harsh containment measures. a book of one type that's impossible to hand to a reader of other types. So I was also talking with Martine on this one, and we agreed that science fiction is a certain type or genre that can be a tough sell for someone who reads, say maybe just romances or young adult, or, well, maybe young adult seems to have a lot of kind of fantasy and science fiction trends these days. But yeah, science fiction can be a tough sell for people who are just reading like contemporary fiction, you know, like boy meets girl and all this kind of stuff that you see going around these days. But she also mentioned that there's a little, she mentioned a book, and she pulled it up on her Wikipedia. So I don't know if any of you have heard of this book. It was written in the 90s, right? 1995. It's called Microserfs, and serfs is spelled S-E-R-F-S. Let me see if I can get that to focus. Douglas Coupland. Or Copeland, Microserfs, and it's about the developers. And it talks about the state of technology industry before Windows 95 and anticipates the dot-com bubble of the late 1990s. And you read that, right?
Yeah, and also I was one of those developers, so it just speaks to me.
Yes, it speaks to her. She was one of those developers. So, you know, I think any type of novel like that that speaks to a certain industry that not everyone's been involved in, you know, the computer industry, you know, like people who are into hacking or whatever, there's books on that, or people who've done things like that, or people who have written code, or people who have, you know, I guess, you know,
subculture.
A subculture. Yeah, that a book that kind of speaks to that, and I'm sure many of you have your own examples of that you could share. One of my dogs is dreaming.
Gidget, that's a subculture.
Is Gidget? Gidget's dreaming. When my dogs dream, my two chihuahuas, they yip. It is so cute. They're like, yip, whoop, whoop. So cute. She's dreaming right now. Dreaming of bacon and happy days and no diseases and things like that.
Mostly bacon.
But mostly bacon. I mean, I'm dreaming of bacon.
You are now.
I want some bacon. I want breakfast for dinner. Hands up. Who loves breakfast for dinner?
It's a new tag.
Yes, breakfast for dinner tag. I wanted to start a club. Okay. Question 3, intense communicability, or prompt 3. A book that will work its magic on anybody. Okay. So it could be a lot of different books. But I think this book also has some crossover for people who don't tend to read history, but this was a fabulous book. And I probably have shown this before on this channel, but this is Simon Sebag Montefiore's Stalin, the Court of the Red Tsar. This is engrossing as hell, people. I mean, if you're not a big history reader, then first of all, why are you at my channel? It's the history shelf. Get out! No, just kidding. This was so well written. And it just brings you into this inner circle, this life. Again, it's like it's about the court of the Red Tsar. I mean, the people that surrounded Stalin from his early days through to the end. It's almost like an extended, very bloody soap opera. Oh, it's just great reading. Great reading. I think it would work its magic on anybody. That's my vote right there. And let's see what else we have here. Question 4, or prompt 4, serious mortality rate. A book with a significantly noticeable body count.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Or, A Tale of Fire and Ice.
Sure, fiction. Could be the Game of Thrones. Any Game of Fire and Ice. I haven't read those books. I've seen the shows. But, of course, I'm going to pick history. I know. With my fussy self. I'm going to say Gettysburg, The Last Invasion by Alan C. Gelzo, who's a great historian, fabulous. I highly recommend his books. Huge body count, very noticeable, unfortunately. But, you know, if you've never read a book on Gettysburg and you want to know and learn something about them, both the military, the battle aspects, the movements, which are important to me. I stress again that history for me is also military history, and I'm a big military history reader, so it might come more naturally to me, but I like to see, in my mind's eye, I can set up all of these things in my mind, how these regiments and battalions were placed in amongst these, like, trees, the line, the artillery ridge, the elevations, I mean, all these things, and if you can just envision it, it's like you're watching a movie. And you get it. It gives your imagination a really big, workout. But this is a highly detailed and well-written account of Gettysburg. And, it wasn't let's see, the bloodiest battles were actually in 1864. Obviously the Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Petersburg, the siege, and Cold Harbor. But Gettysburg was, let's see if we can just give you about a quick, body count. Well, it was tens of thousands. I know that. I know the single bloodiest day of battle was the Battle of Antietam in 1862, and that was when General McClellan was leading the Union troops. But, I just want to this is a good opportunity for me just to show this book because Gelzo is a fantastic Civil War historian. He's written some other things too, and he does current journalistic work. He wrote an article, I think, recently in this new review called Athenaeum, the Athenaeum Review, and it was called "Was Lee a Traitor?" And he was like, and the answer is yes. And I was like, yes, that's right. Thank you. Good stuff, but he's great. So that would be my answer for that. Oh, question 5, quarantine prep, which is kind of close to home right now. Just got word that my place of work will be working remotely for at least the next couple of weeks now. So technically, the social distancing, that's the buzzword right now. The quarantining is taking place already. And as you can see behind me, and this is only a fraction, there are books all over upstairs, so I'm more than set for quarantine prep. But this one says 5 books or series you'd want with you under house confinement. Well, I saw that Mark Richardson has the exact same set that I do of folio books. I didn't bring it down because there's 8 volumes of it, but and I might mention more than 5, but The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon is a must. And so, Mark, I have the same exact set, and I agree with you. I also have a folio set. Again, it's very heavy. All my folios are upstairs. As soon as I can get the lighting situation taken care of in that library room, I will do some videos up there. I really need, it's a dark room, even with the lamps, and then we have dark bookcases, so it's kind of hard. The window's very small, so it's a dark little library room, so we need some bright light.
The bars and the padding really make it dark up there.
The bars and the padding, that's right. It'd make a good tower room if you had to go to the tower.
That would not be a punishment.
That would not be a punishment. I'd be in there with...
The sentence wouldn't even be over, and there'd just be like that little cloud of dust like from cartoons.
They're like, we're sending you to the library tower room. Hey, where'd she go? I'd be like, I'm there. I'll race you. Oh, someone's coughing. Okay. Oh my gosh, someone's Goldie.
It's Goldie. It's not.
She doesn't have, I don't think the pets can have, well, they can have the coronavirus. I don't know.
No, it's no.
Oh, I'm so tired of this word already. I don't want to hear it ever again. Excuse me, I need a drink.
No cough. And you're not supposed to cough into your hand like that.
I coughed wrong.
There's no hope for us.
There was never any hope for us, honey. Okay. Oh, okay, so the next set of books that I would like to have with me on quarantine would be the 3 volumes of The Crusades by Stephen Runciman. Those are amazing accounts, my favorite written accounts of the Crusades, and they're due for a reread. So, yeah, I have the beautiful 3 volumes, and they're upstairs, folio editions. I love them. Oh, but I did bring down one set of folios I want to show you that would also be on my list. This historian writer, I say historian writer because I know he wrote other things than just history, But he passed away just recently. I think at like 90 or 95 or 99, and oh, he had just written a book on the history of France or something. But this is, I love him and I miss him. It's John Julius Norwich, and this would be his Byzantium series. Now look at this badass set. Oh, it's so badass. Sorry, I sweared. Well, ass is not a bad word. So we got the 3 sets here. We have the early centuries, the apogee, and then the decline and fall. So if you're going to read the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, you should also include Byzantium as well. These are beautiful books. I think they're still available. They might have I'm not sure if they're still available. You know, sometimes the Folio Society stuff goes out of stock, and they don't reprint unless people are really clamoring for them. I'm trying to pull one out for you right now. Look at the cover. Like, isn't this just gorgeous? See if they all have the same. Oh my God, they're just gorgeous. They are just priceless jewels to me. You know, the folio quality is unsurpassed. Big, nice, wide pages. Wonderful card, like paper stock. Oh, they're sewn so elegantly so that they just fall. As you can see, this is beautiful.
They melt in your mouth, not in your hands.
Did you hear that, everybody? They melt in your mouth, not in your hand. I know. I'm just a huge. Look at the curving. I don't know what they call that. I'm sure Jason at Byways in Bookland would know what they call that on a book. This curve. The way the bind. You see that? Anyway, sorry. I am a nut when it comes to these things. So that would be another book or series of, you know, that I would want on my quarantine, and I have. But I would select some fiction as well. So a series of books I love, historical fiction that I love, would be the Bernard Cornwell Saxon Tales series. This is the book I'm still reading, so I'm several books behind the curve. But that just means I have more to look forward to. Yeah, and this is one of the more recent ones. I think this is the next book after The Empty Throne. But I love the Bernard Cornwell Saxon Tales series about Uhtred, who was, you know, they made a huge Netflix series out of it. I watched a couple of those episodes, but not, he's like, I just enjoy the books. I'm sure I could get back into it, but I need, you know, I'm trying to spend more time reading and not watching TV. Although there is a great new season starting, of something called Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom is amazing. Now it's subtitled, but I think it's Korean, right? South Korean?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys. If any of you guys have Netflix and you enjoy good,
Good everything.
it's good everything. It's historical, it's scary, because there is like some type of zombie action going on. But it's set in like what, 15th century?
16th.
Yeah, 16th century Korea. So the costumes like the uniforms that the men wore, all just true to detail, and it just made me so interested. I was like, I need to get a book on Korea at this time. I want to read about the history of Korea. I mean, it's so fascinating. But there's this scary storyline, and the acting. Oh, it's so good, you guys. And the second season is coming out, I think, next week. So you still have time.
It's out this week.
It's out this week.
Yeah.
I'm going crazy.
I think it's tomorrow.
I started rewatching the first season. I think it is out tomorrow.
Yes.
Anyway, so I enjoy a good historical drama, thriller, scary stuff. But anyway, so needless to say, that threw me off because I was thinking of The Last Kingdom, which is what they're calling the Netflix series for the Uhtred stories, but didn't really get into that. I highly recommend the history that Cornwell puts into these books. They're amazing. So Uhtred, the basic story is, Uhtred is a Anglo-Saxon boy who's one of the heirs to the Northumbrian throne at the time of the Viking invasions, when they hit the monastery at Lindisfarne. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Lindisfarne. And then because that was an island right off the coast of Northumbria, and then they hit Northumbria, and that's when they were taking over almost all of England, and the last holdout was Wessex, which was known as the Last Kingdom. But Uhtred was taken by the Vikings, raised as a Viking, or a Dane is what they called themselves. But then as he aged, and then he kind of got away from the Vikings a bit, and then came to work for King Alfred the Great. So you got that going on, that history. So he worked for both sides in a sense, but basically his only goal was to get back what was his. His uncle stole his rightful seat, his rightful throne in Northumbria. So this whole journey of his is to reclaim his throne in Northumbria and to be his own lord there. So yeah, I love it. I love the Saxon Tales. Another series I would read would be mysteries, because I love my mysteries and my detective stories and things like that. But I really love Elizabeth George. This is the next book that I need to start, and I mentioned it before, but I've been thrown off track by all of the BookTube prize reading. But it's A Suitable Vengeance. I would definitely be reading Elizabeth George. I would also be reading Anne Cleeves. I've been getting into the Anne Cleeves Shetland series. Elizabeth Peters, who does the Egyptology, Amelia Peabody series, which I really love. Yes? Oh, and the Maigret. Oh, thank you. So I might make another small purchase on bookoutlet.com just because they have marked down versions of many of the Maigret novels, which I haven't gotten into. I've seen Steve hold them up a few times in the past, and then recently Martine started watching the series listening to the books, and then there's a series on BBC with Rowan Atkinson and PBS, sorry. And then we started watching that the other night, and wow, they're really good. So I kind of wanted to start reading the Maigret novels. Let me know if you guys like them. Oh gosh. Okay, so I got to keep moving on here. We're almost done. Two more. Number 6, Repeat Infection, a book that was even more effective on you the second time around. So my issue is I have so many books, I don't have time to reread books. So this will be a predictive answer. I think it will be even more does it say impactful? More effective on you the second time around. It's on the shelf over here in the yellow. I don't need to get up and show it, but I really want to reread Midnight in Chernobyl. I really enjoyed that book so much. In a way, it's tough stuff to read, but it was so well written and on the edge of your seat, minute by minute, just what was going on, and how Adam Higginbotham, how he wrote, how he portrayed the real people and the characters was very touching, and you were really invested in what happened to each person's story as it was happening. So it was a very touching book, a very sobering book, very eye-opening. But I think it would probably have even more of an effect the second time around.
Well, especially now.
And especially now. So I would say Midnight in Chernobyl, and I highly recommend everyone read that book. Okay, so number 7, effective prevention. What are some of the ways you prevent bookish infection? As in when you've read a couple of lousy books in a row and want to turn it around, etc. It is a great question. It's a relatively simple answer for me. When I've read something that is just like, oh my God, it was awful. In fact, that happened to me last year. I was reading some books for review, and some of them were just not that good, and it was painful. What I do is I go to something I know I can trust, an author I know I can trust, especially a historian I know I could trust, you know, and I pull their work out and I say, okay, I'm reading some quality because I need an injection of, you know, just hardcore quality. And of course, the mysteries that I like, the authors I trust, I know I will always enjoy those. But I generally will go towards something that is not new and iffy after I've had a couple of lousy bouts. I can't go to iffy stuff. I go to something I know and trust the author or the historian and their reputation. And that's where I go with to get that palate cleanser, so to speak, or to, you know, get that crappy book taste out of your mouth. All right, so and then it says infect somebody. Yeah, I don't want to infect anybody. You know, I don't want to do that. But I do want to say I hope everyone stays healthy out there, and that's what I would like to transmit, if anything. And I think most people have already been tagged by Steve anyway. Oh, no, there is someone I want to infect. That's right. How could I forget? I didn't. John David, consider this your tag. Consider that I just sneezed right in your face.
Ew.
With.
How rude.
I know. Take as many days as you need. Take as much time as you like. I'm sure your answers will be very deep and completely thoughtful, and you'll have some great literary choices. I will list John below. Who else would like to do this? I've been seeing a bunch of people doing it.
Who's the English lady who does it sometimes?
Scallydandling about the books. I think she might have done it, but I'm going to tag you anyway. You're a delightful person. Martine loves watching your channel.
I do.
We both do, and so I think she's already done that. But I will definitely tag Scallydandling. I would say David Murphy, to see what kind of economic books he'll bring to the table. I think Steve already tagged him, but whatever. I'll say David Murphy. He's my partner in libertarian non-crime.
Grimm Reader?
What?
Grimm Reader?
The Grimm Reader. That's right, Kathy. Hello. Oh my gosh.
Does Terry do Terry B?
No, doesn't have a channel. Doesn't have a channel.
Jason, put one out there.
Well, Jason's not filming.
But he did recently.
He did recently.
So maybe
Jason, we love you. We miss you. We were so pleased to see that recent video of yours. But Jason at Byways in Bookland, if you feel like it, if you have the time, great. Just know that we're thinking of you, and hope you are also staying healthy and well, and that your social distancing is is keeping you safe. Okay, guys. Well, that's a 28-minute tag video. Sorry, sometimes we ramble here. I'm gonna go see if I can find some breakfast for dinner, and I hope the rest of you guys have a great evening. Stay safe. I'll make a video again soon. I'm not sure which one it will be, but I've got some new arrivals. I have an original tag bumping around in my head, and all that other good stuff. So, all right. Take care, BookTube. We'll talk soon.